can bring forward for our employees if there's, you can step up here, Caitlin.
Oh, right.
If there are things that you want to do to honor a basketball team, anything, all of these present, if you write it up, and then you can present that. So this is actually, I believe, September.
It
is Hunger Action Month, and this is our proclamation. Whereas 1 in 10 people in Illinois struggles with hunger every day, including 1 in 8 children. When families are hungry, making healthier choices can be even more difficult. And whereas we are committed to taking steps to combat hunger in every part of our community and to provide additional resources for those that live in our communities. And whereas we are committed to working with Food Pantry Network, HOI, including Midwest Food Bank and Peoria Area Food Bank, in hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and attention to hunger issues. And whereas more than 11,620 individuals in Tazewell County are considered food insecure, and whereas the members of the Midwest Food Bank and the Peoria Area Food Bank distribute meals through its network of food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, mobile food drives, and other community organizations with support of Food Pantry Network HOI, and whereas the month of September has been designated Hunger Action Month in order to bring attention to food insecurity in our communities and to engage the public in action, including volunteer shifts, social media shares, and donations to end hunger, one helping at a time. And whereas food pantries and the food banks across the country, including members of the Food Pantry Network HOI, will host numerous events throughout the month of September to bring awareness and help end hunger in their local communities. And now, therefore, we, the Tazewell County Board, do hereby recognize September 2021 as Hunger Action Month in Tazewell County, Illinois, and call this observance to the attention of our citizens. Presented this 25th day of August, 2021.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kaylin. And
thank you for proclaiming September as Hunger Action Month. As Chairman Zimmerman said, 1 in 10 individuals in Tazewell County experience hunger every day, and we know that when families are hungry, making healthier choices can be really challenging, especially for those struggling financially. So Food Pantry Network, we have over 100 charitable food organizations as members, which we are really proud of in our Tri-County area. And we are able to provide resources, grant opportunities, connect best practices while hosting healthy mobile pantries and fresh produce drives and providing emergent food deliveries to our neighbors most in need. We really look forward to Hunger Action Month in September. We're focusing on fresh food drives this year, as well as nutrition education, and we look forward to recognizing all of the inspiring work happening within our charitable food system. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kaylin. David? Yes, go ahead, Rick.
Caitlin, street manager, her job actually is extension, Tazewell County, regional extension, but this is one of those areas that our health department and extension I've been working very close on, so I attended meetings with Caitlin with the health department and through extension also. It is a great collaboration to address this whole issue too, so just make sure.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Okay. Any other comments? All right. Any communications from members of the public or county employees? Any communications from elected and appointed county officials?
Yes, sir.
Mike?
I would like to continue expressing my concerns about the actions of the Tazewell County Clerk. He has continued to push the boundaries of the operating and financial aspects of this county. He is using free funds to pursue any action he wants, and that leads to the board. The board's responsibility, main responsibility, is the fiscal management of this county. This includes setting the fees. I'd like to review the actions taken by the county clerk that are funded by fee funds, or have added revenue to the fee funds, or have not been reviewed or approved by the county. Number one, raises to the employees. Number two, bonuses. Number three, reworking clerk's office. Number four, reworking the recorder's office. Number five, adding an FTE to the employment role in the county. Number six, increasing the recorder's fee fund by over 300%. A side note to that, a couple of meetings ago, I asked who set the fees, and we were told Fiddler set the fees. I have a page from the contract that says pricing. Fiddler gets, with a maximum usage, $113 a month, and the next paragraph says the client understands that he is empowered to charge fees to end users pursuant to Section 55 Illinois compiled statute. So the remainder of the $400 was raised by the county clerk. I believe even have heard that the actions of the county clerk have caused morale issues, additional costs to the county, and future financial concerns. His actions have and will affect all negotiations, contract negotiations. The county clerk has stated to the county auditor that the fee funds are his slush funds. I would like to recommend the county board and the state's attorney work up a set of policies that curtail the use of fee funds.
Mr. Chairman, I go on record as objecting to the use of slush funds to represent any financial money in Tazewell County. Thank you.
He gave attribution to that individual that said it.
I don't care. Slush
All
funds.
right.
Russ.
Now, there are some questions I'd like to throw out to the board that won't be answered tonight. But number one, the county recorder recording fees in 2021 budgeted $450,000 in recording fees. 2022 budget is $200,000. So the question is, what happened to 250? Why is it reduced? The second one is recorded document storage fund. The 2021 budget was $159,000. To date, they have received $314,000. The third one is the recorder's document storage fund. The budget, 2021 budget was $159,000. And 2022 budget is $312,000. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Russ?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Needless to say, I did.
This is communications from elected and county.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's for me. I'm communicating from Russ Properties elected official in response to what I just heard.
Microphone.
Let me say for the record, I'll just apologize to John, and I'll apologize to everybody else, because Chip? Oh, I hit the wrong button, sorry. I'll probably upset everyone. But I am opposed to some of the things that John has done that Mike keeps talking about every month. In terms of the raises that didn't go through the board, in terms of, or the finance committee, in terms of the putting us behind the 8 ball with the union, things like that. I'm opposed to. I've always been opposed to them. It didn't matter whether it's John or somebody else doing them, I'm opposed to them. I will say that in terms of, John's not the only department head that uses special revenue fee funds to do things sort of around the board. I don't like that, but legally they can. And Mr. Holly has tested and would continue to attest that they legally can. As a county board member, I wish we had a little more control in that area, but we don't. But Mike, I like you. I've worked with you for many, many years before here at Caterpillar. And I don't want to.
So this is not a debate?
No, it's not a debate. I'm just making my comment just like he made his comment. And this goes out to the whole world on this machine here. The whole world gets to see this stuff. And this is the second month in a row where you called slush funds of some of our Tazewell County funds. And that's a misnomer, it's inaccurate, and it's wrong. Some of us, like me, have fought for 40 years in Tazewell County to make sure our finances are the best possible and pro-customer, pro-taxpayer. And when people hear part of this saying slush funds are gonna get the wrong view of Tazewell County, we have a great reputation for managing our money well. So, and the way you do it, Mike, is this. You have a meeting.
You need to address the chairman. This is
Mr. Chairman, very good, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So the way any of us need to do it is to have a meeting with that department head and work with them. And if they ignore us, it's to do what I said last year, which is you get 2/3 of the vote of this board, and it takes a lot, a supermajority, and they move money out of that budget. And that sends a big message. I tried to get it done last year, even though it was John, my friend. I just thought it was the right thing to do, but but Mr. Harris actually opposed that. I don't understand why. But that's what you do. That's how you hold people accountable. You don't stand up and bash them in public meetings over and over again. Thank you.
So I guess my only reply to both comments is that our labor attorney 2 years ago said that we need to bring this up again and again and again, because we are a fiscally sound county, but we have a clerk that has obligated this county by the end of his 4-year term to an additional $700,000 plus with raises and bonuses. And we've not had one say in any of that stuff. And so if we call ourselves fiscal conservatives, we need to do something about it instead of just saying it. So, any other comments from elected or appointed officials? Okay, can I get approval of the July 28th meeting minutes? Motion by Brandon, second by Joe Roberts. Any additions, deletions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that brings us down to our agenda. Any items being pulled?
15.
Number 15. Anything else? Brandon?
21-143.
The TCRC?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Anything else? Can I get a motion on the remainder? Motion by Darcy, second by Atkins. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. A motion for appointments A through E. Motion by Frail, second by Condon. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Back to item 15. Can I get a motion to get that on the floor? Motion by Longfellow, second by Crawford. Mike, you pulled this?
Oppose this in finance. I oppose this in finance. I continue to oppose it. I think it should be a budgeted item. There's no rush. I don't like pulling dollars out of contingency unless it's an emergency, and I don't see this as an emergency.
So I didn't see the meeting minutes, and I think last month we had tabled John's request, and then I thought the conversation was to do it in budget for the 22 budget, and I'm not sure what happened there. So Russ?
Well, what happened was what was supposed to happen. And there's two things you've got to do. One is you got to take care of it right when it happens, which is what this transfer does. And the other thing is you've got to do what you said, Mr. Chairman, which is take care of it for the 2022 budget. Depending upon, there's a lot of things that go into the revenue and expense, stuff like that. And I'm sure the budget committee or finance committee will do a real good job, I'm sure, on that. I talked to Mr. Graff, Mr. Ackerman after the meeting. Mr. Ackerman came up and listened to Mr. Graff and I's discussion. Mr. Graff was actually surprised, he said, wish he was here tonight, of that it was on in the packet last month. Knew that it shouldn't have been. Was very pleased at Nancy Prale and Monica comments. I think Monica objected and Nancy made a motion to table, and it sailed through. So What you don't want to ever do in this county, ever, to anybody, whether you like them or don't like them, it's irrelevant, is to authorize somebody to spend more money than the formal final budget approved. And if you ever want to give somebody less money or more money than the final budget approved, there's only one way to do it, and it's not through a resolution like that. It's, I think it's 2103, at least used to be when I was auditor of the Illinois Revised Statutes, which says that at any meeting of the county board, if passed by 2/3 of the members of the county board, you can move money from one line item to another line item that's either up or down of the same department or different department, as long as it's in the same fund. You can't do that between funds, but you, for example, within the county general fund, the general county department that has a contingent line item is in there. John Ackerman has, or the county clerk has a county clerk budget, so you can take money out or move money in. John had explained to the finance committee that he was getting some revenue. I don't know any of the details, but and so this is the amount. He worked with the finance committee on that, so that's the amount of the transfer. So it's not moving real dollars. If Mary's here, I don't see Mary here, but the treasurer doesn't really move dollars. This is simply moving an expense line item from contingent and miscellaneous expense based on the revenue that came in to the county general fund in Mary's office, to moving that to John's office, so that when it's spent, it's got proper accounting. That's what we try to do. If it doesn't have proper accounting, some of you know, and you've done this for a living, you screw up the whole thing. After a while, you don't even have a meaningful budget. You can't even look back and see what you should appropriate for the next fiscal year because the line items aren't accurate for the previous year. So this is the way to do it. Now, Mike has every right to vote no on a transfer. I think it's misplaced because what he's trying to really say is he doesn't want John to do this thing. But if John's gonna, I'm not saying whether John should do it or not do it. I'm saying this: if John's gonna do it, if John's gonna bring in revenue and then spend for this thing, if you as a board member think he should, this is the only legal way to do it, the transfer. There's no other legal way to do it. Thank you.
All right, any other comments, Nancy?
My only comment, from what I understood, though, is that we are assuming that Mr. Ackerman is going to sell some equipment that will equal the amount of money that's going to be transferred. I'm not very good at assuming, and so therefore, this money coming in and the money going out and so on concerns me, and I'm not an accountant, so legally you're probably right, Russ, we can do what you're saying. I'm opposed to it because I don't want to hear, I'm planning to sell this stuff for so many dollars, and so I need this many over in contingency so I can buy some things, and that's the way I'm reading it. I may be wrong in how I've interpreted it, but that's what I understood. Thank you.
And then Dave.
Okay, I just am hoping to provide a little clarification. My understanding is that John has some election equipment that we no longer need, and he is going to sell it. His desire is to sell it back to the person that we bought it from, the original supplier, that he has a bid from, or like a quote from this person, from the company, that this is how much they will pay for it, and what John is wanting to do, my understanding, he can correct me if I'm wrong, is that then he wanted to take the money that he was going to get from selling it back to the supplier and use that money to then specifically buy ADA compliant polling booths that he says the county is in need of, and he wanted, I think his intention is that he will not sell the equipment back to the supplier unless he can use this money to get something that he feels like is needed by the county. I think I have that correct. I just thought I'll be a little more specific about exactly what's happening so that people know. I understand what you're saying, Nancy, like, until you see the money, do we get it? But I would assume that a quote from a reputable supplier would be accurate, but I can't vouch for that.
And I would also say, I have not seen a quote, but I also do not like the idea of, I think I can sell this back. The company says they'll take it back, but if somebody, John, if you have something already in writing that says that's what it's going to be, that makes it simpler. The accounting side of it, I am not going to be able to dispute, but I don't really want to know that there's a guess that we might sell some equipment. John must have something to say about it.
Second, Dave.
Yes. It seemed, thank you. It seemed to me that the part of this resolution that's missing, and that's the part of what you said, and that I'd like to make the motion as follows. Whereas the ADA compliant polling booth shall be purchased upon receiving full payment for the excess polling location equipment. That way we're assured that the money's there prior to the expenditure being made.
So that's in the form of amendment. Is there a second? Second by Darcy. So does everybody understand the amendment that we need to have the money in hand from the vendor before we purchase the booths? Any questions on the amendment? Russ?
And that's exactly what I have, Mr. Chairman, a question on how this would work. Let me tell you what I think Dave said, and I just need Dave or somebody to confirm that that's what you meant. So if we amend this, and I'm not necessarily opposed to this amendment, then we'd still pass the transfer. It would still require a 2/3 vote. The amendment's a majority, but the transfer's 2/3. But it wouldn't. The transfer actually wouldn't take place until the revenue came in to the treasurer's office, right?
That's correct.
And so we'd sort of pass it by 2/3 vote, or if we do, but it wouldn't happen like it usually would the next day or whatever. It would sit there, and the treasurer would have to wait to make sure the revenue came in, and then do the transfer. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
I'd support that.
Brandon, was your question related to the amendment or the original motion? Because I saw your hand up.
Yes, it had to do with the original motion.
Okay.
But if I may, Mr. Chairman, an
Yeah.
indulgence, I appreciate this. First off, I want to thank Mr. Mingus. You certainly are adding value to the sport, sir. Welcome, welcome. But I agree with Mrs. Prey, and that is, I don't like guesswork. I do not like estimations. I prefer precision. Mr. Ackerman, if you want to sell this idea to the board, you need to furnish that proof, sir. Now, Chief Assistant Holly made a comment that this probably is a contractual obligation between you and Liberty Systems. Is that correct?
It is to sell the equipment back. However, in the information provided to the to the Finance Committee, the transaction is done tomorrow. It's the numbers, you have the statement of how much they're going to pay, everything's squared up, and the resolution states, I think Mr. Mingus's amendment, if I may say, is perfect, because that was the nature of the transfer, was that the amount we received is the amount that can be spent, no more, no less. And as soon as you authorize this tomorrow, you have the price, I provided you in writing how much you'll pay for each piece of equipment versus how much we bought it for. All of that was approved last month, so you have in writing everything that you're asking for.
Well, I understand that, Mr. Ackerman, and I appreciate you saying that. However, it would be helpful for us to have a visualization of that. Where is it? Where is it? It should be on those monitors. We should be seeing it. Because right now, we are in a conversation that could have had clarity, yet the water is so murky. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any more questions regarding the amendment? Monica?
Just a comment towards the whole thing. My understanding was, the last I heard, was that we were to wait. He could sell this equipment back to the manufacturer or the company, and was to put that actual purchase in next year's budget that we were this close. And that's the way I was understanding the last I heard of this. Because of transferring these issues, and we've had this over the past 5 to 10 years about making all these transfers. You can't get a good amount of money. You can't know what's going on and what you're spending in actuality if you keep doing transfers out of the contingency items. If you budget for X amount of dollars, you budget. Pulling that out of contingency, you are overextending your budget. So we've been trying to pull these transfers in, and I understand there's not a big hurry. Am I correct in assuming that part of it? Because there's no elections coming up for a while?
Next election will be June.
Okay, so that's where I thought we were going to say, go ahead and sell your equipment, bank your money, put that purchase for the ADA equipment into the next budget year, and you've got it. So I'm voting no for all of it. Thank you.
Okay, we have an amendment on the floor to require that the equipment be sold in money in hand before any of the purchases are made. So that's what we're voting on the amendment.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
And this is to anybody in the room who knows the answer. Probably Dave doesn't know the answer. I'd like to see in that same amendment, not only everything Dave said, but also that the amount of money of the transfer, which technically I don't think we know exactly what that is today, since we're going to wait until that money comes, that the amount of the transfer be exactly the same, no more, no less, than the amount of revenue that came in. I don't know without amending again whether that would be true right now, Mr. Chairman. I wouldn't want to say, for example, that we're going to do a transfer of X dollars, okay, and then all of a sudden the money comes in and it's $1,000 short of X dollars. It ought to be the same amount. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Would you want an amendment to that after you dispose of this amendment?
So I think for the sake of clarity, I would want to vote on this amendment first. The questions on this amendment. Bill, are you tracking your approval?
I was just going to say, you can amend an amendment.
Right.
You can't get to any further amendments than that without having voted on them, and
Okay.
then you've got the motion as amended. But you're taking what I think is a better course than what Robert's Rules of Order would allow you to, so stick
For the
with
sake of my simple mind. Regarding the amendment?
Yes. The resolution before you, Russ, and it has that the transfer amount not to exceed $19,250. That's the amount that they quoted us that they would give us for the equipment. And then the next line is the transfer is to cover the purchase of the ADA pollings. The amount of the transfer will not exceed the amount received from the sales of polling location equipment. So it states it twice in there that what you were asking for is met in the resolution as it stands currently.
So all those in favor of this amendment signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. 3, okay.
Which for
Oh, 4. Okay, the motion passes. Back to the resolution as amended. Randy?
Mr. Chairman, I support this simply because I want to see us reach a higher standard within Tazewell County when it comes to ADA compliance. The Americans with Disabilities Act is one of the most vital statutes in the United States of America. When it comes to ADA compliance, that needs to be a goal. Not only is it voting rights, it's human rights, Mr. Chairman, and thus I want to see this happen. I realize tonight, and if this offends people, so be it, there are some vendettas with Mr. Ackerman, and this is more than just a finance issue. This is a personality conflict that, quite frankly, could be prevented by term limits. But when it comes to the grand scheme of things, we need to move forward not backwards, not sideways. So let's keep our eyes on the prize and focus on human rights instead of infighting in a very small body politic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Greg?
Ms. Conant's point makes sense. I'd like to hear Mr. Ackerman's reason why he can't wait until next budget. Without the election coming, kind of makes sense to me.
The profit, the revenue for this is coming in this budget year, and I wanted the expenditure to be in the same budget year. Otherwise, you'll have the profit in one budget year, and you'll have the expense in the second budget year without the remembrance of connecting the two together. Now is the time for me to sell this equipment because the vendor is already working with other counties on purchasing new equipment with their COVID money that they've received. So he has buyers that are willing to buy now. If I wait until next year, he won't have buyers willing to buy because we're already prepping equipment for, I know June seems like a long ways away, but we're prepping it now. And this also gives me the opportunity to get the equipment, as you know, Greg, out to the townships where they need it, because it seems like it's a long ways away, but that date's going to fly up quickly, and we need to get that out to them and make sure that we get back the other equipment that they have currently and dispose of it properly.
Greg, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I still don't know why you can't sell it now. I mean, it's the new year starts soon, and you'll have plenty of time to get that all done. So I really like the suggestion.
So Monica, and then back to you, Brandon.
If you want to keep it that way, have it worked out with that company and have them do everything December 1st and put it all into next year's transactions. It's that simple. So you've got a ways to go, and I understand you get ready for these things early. And I am not against anybody personally on this board whatsoever. But let me say this. We have been working, and this is my only reason to say not to do this transfer, because we have been working very hard for 5 to 10 years now, getting these transfers down and sticking to these budgets. And if Mr. Graff was here, I'm sure he pretty much would agree, because first few years he was here, he didn't even vote on any, he voted all the budgets no, because they weren't balanced in his opinion, and that's fine. And I don't hold grudges to anybody in that respect. ADA, you darn right, we do need to pay more attention. I've got no issues with that whatsoever. It just strictly comes down to the money and the budgeting and the years and the transfers. Thank you.
Brandon?
Mr. Chairman, again, this is directed towards Mr. Ackerman. John, can you look at me when I'm talking to you, buddy?
I'm right here.
All right, here's the deal. It would help if on those monitors you had an email chain explaining your case. Because, John, do you see the mess that you've gotten yourself in tonight? Is this a good mess to be in? No, it isn't, John, and it's time to learn from it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, yeah, maybe.
Okay, I just didn't know if maybe Craig could clarify something for us. Okay, I think part of the problem is that John is wanting, well, yes, but John is wanting this to all happen in 1 year from an accounting perspective. And so if he sells it now, I am an accountant, but I'd like to know how we would account for it. You can answer that. I mean, like, how does that work? Well, I get that, but I'm saying, how does that match up? Because then you can't really, match it necessarily. I'm just curious.
If we get the proceeds in this fiscal year, we have extra revenue, and if we don't make the expenditure this year, that revenue falls into our fund balance. So we have more fund balance at the end of the year. Next year, you appropriate the money for the purchase. The purchase is made, it's going to draw down the fund balance in an equal amount. If the dollars are still there. It's a little messier accounting-wise, but it's nothing that doesn't happen all the time. We have accruals in the millions of dollars at the end of each fiscal year for money that's either spent in one or collected in a subsequent year that is owed to us at the end of the year. So, I mean, it's not unusual to have these type of items at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, so you see no reason why that would be a limiting sort of factor for him being able to move forward?
Like John said, it's always cleaner to do it all in one fiscal year, but no real accounting reason to separate, not to separate the two, one in one fiscal year, the other in the subsequent.
Okay. Thank you for your expertise on that. I appreciate it.
Nancy?
Just to add to that, I mean, highways lives with that kind of system. With working with the federal government and the state and so on, there's constantly those changes from one year to the next, with money sitting there waiting for the bills to come, or we're waiting for the money from the state, or federal. So that I thought that's the way it worked, but I appreciate reaffirming it. Thank you.
Okay, there's a break in the rain, so let's quick close. Are there any other questions on the resolution as amended? And Bill, we need 2/3 on this?
As amended, yes.
Yes, so there would be, we need 13 yeses on this for this to pass tonight. So, Brandon?
Maybe do a roll call vote on this, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
we
Thank
sure
you
can.
for the sake of accuracy.
Yeah. Wayne?
There's one question. Please.
Yeah.
It's the first time speaking out loud, so. But I do have a lot of experience in purchasing and writing purchase orders and invoices and stuff like that. The prices of the new systems you're wanting to buy, is that price going to be the same today as it would be in December? Or like everything else in our nation today, our prices are going crazy. So that would be my question. Will the prices be higher in December than they are today?
I can't answer that. I've got, to be frank with you, how we were going to do it was take whatever we got from the amount we got from the equipment, which is the 19,000 that's stated in your resolution. We were going to divide it by whatever I could get the polling booths for, because the price does change. So I did not work to pre-do that. It's whatever amount I could receive in, that's how much I could spend. So we were just going to figure out. Right now, it looks like 20 of them will be able to purchase in with that amount. But yes, the price can change. I don't have any control over that. The price quoted for purchasing it isn't going to change. The vendor's still fine purchasing it for that amount of money.
Do they have a timeline on when that quote is over?
For me to sell them back the equipment?
No, the purchase of the new equipment.
Again, I didn't get a purchase order for that yet. I just got the price and did a calculation knowing that it changes.
Greg?
Yeah. So, we all know how long it takes. I'm sitting here waiting on parts to, we don't know if we wait till December or so, till that type of thing, can he get the job done for the 20th, do what he wants to for that? I mean, everything's timed now. They say wait, you're waiting a couple months now to get stuff. Hopefully the supply chain is good then. So I guess this makes taking money one way and put it towards the other, so it gets the job done. And I guess if we wait, can he sell the stuff? Will the Tremont place still buy it? Can they move it? And can you buy can you get the stuff in time to react towards the election in June? So we can probably get it done easier tonight if it all works out.
Did we not authorize the sale of the equipment last month, or was that all the same resolution? So you can sell it tomorrow if you want. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's, yeah. Sam?
So, also my first time talking out loud. I agree on that point with supply chain issues right now. I can see why John would want to get this equipment purchased immediately. If any of you don't know, I'm in transportation, and we're seeing delays more and more every day, it seems like. So I'm good with the amended resolution and just get it done and over with right now.
All right. Roll call vote. John? Call the roll.
Alpeter,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Conick,
No.
Crawford,
Aye.
Darcy,
Yes.
Goddard,
Yes.
Graff, Hall, Harris,
No.
Powder,
Yes.
Hovey,
Yes.
Emig,
Yes.
Josting,
No.
Longfellow,
Yes.
Mennel,
No.
Mangus,
Yes.
Trail,
No.
Rich Dempson,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Squartino,
Yes.
Sin,
Yes.
Motion passes. On to item 21, can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Conick, second by Roberts. Brandon, I think you pulled this?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy to see the pursual of this grant. My question is, are they thinking about expanding their routes to places like Creve Coeur, places in the very rural aspects of the county that were within the gray area?
I think their grant only allows them to go into the rural areas unless they have a contract, like they do with the Village of Morton. So
Okay.
no, they won't. They can end trips in Creve Coeur, they can't originate trips in Creve Coeur.
Okay, I appreciate you answering that question. Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Any unfinished business? And just real quick on new business, just a couple. I got contacted this week. Several of our townships are going to have multipliers, which if you know what that are going to be pretty significant. And I think some of it is being skewed by the hot housing market, and so we may be getting some, when the property tax bills come out, we may get some calls on that. Just want to let you guys know that a solar farm is looking in Tazewell County. It's pretty, that's about all that I know. Wind is going to expand in southern Tazewell County. Next month, we're going to address board size. We have a board member that would like to make a resolution to reduce the board size from 21 to 18, and we have until October 1st to do that. So we're just going to address it next month to see what our appetite is on that. And I have a memo here. I'm just verifying the numbers on reapportionment. I think these are the accurate census numbers. And if we keep the districts as they are currently, there's a variance between the smallest district and the largest of 7.9%, which was well within the 10% that the feds allow us. But I will get these numbers to you if you want to play with them also and see what we can do. So, all right, the bills have been sent out. Can I get a motion to approve the September calendar? Motion by Roberts, second by Emmett. He weighs about 5 pounds. So, anyway, all those in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned.